Hard times create strong men. Strong men create soft times. Soft times create soft men. Soft men create hard times. Hard times create hard men. See, the cycle that we're going through right now, we're going through basically soft times create soft men. And we're deep into this cycle now. We're not fully completed. This cycle still will go on. But when this cycle completes, it will signal a shift in the quality of time that we live in, which will be the hard time, wars. But I believe it'll be more digital wars. It's not going to be like physical wars as much. And if it is physical wars, it'll be wars that you can't fight on foot. It's not going to be like back then. It'll be crazier, right? Way crazier to the point where the individual person cannot control their safety within that war. But that's hard times, right? But currently right now, we're in soft times, right? And we have a lot of soft men. We have a lot of weak men, right? Weak times, weak men. You know, there's a soft man era. There's all this stuff. Men just wanting to be super comfortable and, you know, not be challenged and, you know, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, getting a manicure. There's nothing wrong with making sure that your aesthetics are good, but that's more of a byproduct of who these men are. And you might be one of these men, even if you don't do what I just said. You might be a weak man. And I've had to analyze myself to make sure that's not me. And I've realized time and time again, as I've applied these signs to my life, I've realized that I'm actually not weak at all. Physically, definitely not. And mentally, definitely not. We've already dealt with the physical side on this channel many times. Go to the gym, lift hard weight, right? Lift heavy weights, build muscle, build some functionality with that muscle, either by boxing, either by doing jujitsu, some sort of martial art, whatever that looks like. We get that. But now we're gonna address the mentally weak men, because that's actually what's crippling most of our society today is like weak men. And when I say mentally weak, I mean the mental capacity that you have to be able to articulate yourself, to be able to hold yourself, to be able to understand others, to be able to communicate with other people, to be able to synthesize ideas is at an all-time low. We literally brain dead, bots of men consistently, right? And you have to understand how you can figure out whether you're a weak man or the people you're surrounded by are weak men. And the first sign is going to be a man who judges another man based on his opinions and not his actions and effects on the world in terms of on life, right? See, these types of men fall so victim to media and to how online can portray a specific character that they genuinely will judge somebody based on their opinions, not knowing that it's a marketing tactic, not understanding the landscape of why that thing is done. I'll give you a great example. This will get me in trouble, but disclaimer, I could care less about Trump. I could care less about Biden. I'm not really political at all. I believe that everyone should have sovereignty. I believe that everyone should build themselves up and that the political landscape will not solve your personal problems. So disclaimer, but let's talk about Trump. See, if you do not like Trump because you know him, you see him, or you've really looked into like what he's done economically and you disagree with that, cool. But the weak man dislikes Trump because everybody else dislikes Trump because of the public opinion. See, weak men follow the crowd. They follow the crowd. They follow the portrayals of people. They follow the ruses that people commit, right? Trump, it's a ruse. All of the things that he'll say, I want to build a great wall. It's all for attention. Who is he as a person? Does he think this behind closed doors? I don't know. But I can't say that he's a bad person because of what he says. See, a lot of you are bots, so you will not understand what I'm saying right now, and you'll already judge me. You'll already say, oh, he likes people who say crazy things on public. I'm not saying that. And I'm not even saying what he said was correct about women, about anything. That's what he said, right? I don't know the reason for why he said it, but I can assume the reason why. And if I go off of the assumption that he made these inflammatory comments to arouse a crowd, to make a crowd go crazy and get mad, and because you have to understand, good attention and bad attention, They're literally the same. They literally generate the same result. Whether people love you or hate you, you will still get attention and you will still get the results. And unfortunately, we live in a three-dimensional world, right? Three-dimensional world, there's duality. And unfortunately, negativity is held at a greater weight. It impacts humans a lot more than positivity does at the moment. So if you understand that concept, you understand that being negative and being inflammatory actually boosts you up even more, which is sad in society. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you have to look at society with how it is. And you have to realize that, well, okay, so since this is how society works, I understand why this person's doing it. So going back to the Trump example, I can understand why he says what he's saying with the assumption that he's trying to make inflammatory statements to be able to get more attention, to be able to generate, to have more of a separation, to have people who truly stand for him, right? That's the guru method. You have to go against something, or you have to say something that's completely radical on the other side so that you can get a cult-like following. That is genuinely what the strategy is. A weak man doesn't understand that. A weak man will not analyze this as a strategy, and they'll just say, oh, he's horrible. They won't even study why he does what he does, just for knowledge, just to understand the theory of influence, just to understand the strategy of influence. Not saying you look up to him, right? But you're able to really just analyze that strategy. So a weak man will always judge somebody else by their opinions, by what they say versus what they do. So that's number one. If you do that, you need to start reanalyzing that. Number two, a weak man cannot hold his own values and ruminate or brainstorm and really think on another person's ideology or values. For example, if I'm Christian, if I'm a weak man, I cannot talk to a Muslim person and understand their values and understand their beliefs and actually like internalize that and really just see the good in it, understand what's good about it, really just see it from their perspective. What do weak men do? Weak men will see that, they'll see adversaries, they'll see an enemy, and they'll verbally combat that person. They will push their ideology onto that person, trying to get them to change. You see this in the Christian community probably the most, where you see a lot of people, they will not learn about others' ideologies, other religions, other texts. They won't go read other things to challenge their own. But see, a strong man, his beliefs are so rock solid that if somebody else comes to influence him on his beliefs, on his overall values, they're so rock solid that the strong man can entertain somebody else's value system internally and still come out on top with his values to himself. That's a strong man. See, these are high level concepts, but you have to understand this. If you're somebody who, if somebody tells you an ideology that you disagree with, that goes against your internal state, if you cannot actually take that in and self-analyze it and really like foolproof it and see if it actually makes sense compared to your ideology and even challenge your own ideology, if you cannot hold two conflicting thoughts in your brain, in your internal state at the same time, you are not a strong man. You're weak. You're weak. You need to go to echo chambers. You need to find people who are just like you. If you cannot be somebody who stands on their own values and go into a space where there's so many other values out there that don't align with yours and you feel uncomfortable, you are weak. Your foundations are weak. Your foundations are made on sand. It means you truly don't believe in what you believe in. Because if you actually believed in what you believe in, and you not even just believe, if you knew it was true, because there's a difference between believing and knowing that it's true. See, for me, I don't believe in God. I know God. There's a difference. Too many of you just believe. Believe means that you're fighting doubt, that you're blindly just believing. You don't have tangible evidence. I know there's tangible evidence out there in my life, in my communication with other people, in actually like having these very vivid dreams, just having certain supernatural experiences in my life, understanding quantum physics to a certain extent. I've studied that. I know there's a God. I don't just believe it. So if I go talk to an atheist, I can entertain an atheist's thoughts continuously. I can continuously entertain. I can sit in a room with an atheist, be kind, be polite, and be friendly. And that atheist could be my friend at the end of the day. But that conflicting thought remains, and I can foolproof my own thought process, that my own values with their values. Oh, they don't believe in God? Why don't they believe in it? They give me a reason. I internalize it. I say, okay, this reason. Well, why do I believe in God? Oh, I believe in God because of this, because of that. Oh, they believe, oh, I don't agree with that. And I can then push that ideology outside of me, and I still remain with my own. See, that's a strong man. A weak man, he'll be religious. He'll go into a room with an atheist and he'll panic. He'll be mad. He'll be angry, which is the first sign of insecurity. He'll start riling up. He'll start combating verbally and even emotionally with the atheist, right? To the point where he's trying to fight his urge to actually challenge his shaky beliefs because he doesn't know God. He believes in God because what everybody else taught him. He didn't have that personal experience. When you have a personal experience with God, you know God. You don't just believe. But that's a different topic. Going back, right? So we talked about number one, right? A man who judges somebody else based on their words and not what they do, right? And goes with the crowd. Number two, right? A man who cannot hold two conflicting thoughts in his soul, in his body, and actually come out on top with his ideology, right? Or be comfortable or open with changing his ideology if it proves to be incorrect by the opposing ideology. That's number two. And the third kind of wraps all of this stuff together, but it's a man that genuinely looks up to other men, that idolizes other men. See, we have famous figures like Andrew Tate, and I understand, right? I understand that we live in a society, there aren't any father figures or men of power that younger men can look up to. So it's nice to have people who try to step up and be those masculine figures. Regardless of what your opinion is on Tate, I really don't care. I don't have an opinion on him. I genuinely don't know what's going on with him. It doesn't matter. But I know that what he's done, he's saved millions of men and hundreds of thousands of men from killing themselves. He saved them on that, right? But a lot of men idolize him to the point where they wear what he's wearing. They want to be this mafia boss. They want to dress like a mafia boss. They shave their head bald. They grow beards. They smoke cigars, even though it literally looks like it doesn't even taste good. Imagine smoking a cigar and not enjoying it, but you want to do it because you want to look like somebody else. Do you know how much of a weak man you have to be, a weak boy, not even a strong boy, a weak boy you have to be to see someone idolize them so much that you want to be like them? That you literally, another human being that's not supernatural, that's not like this figure. For example, Jesus, I admire anybody, and I'm just like this myself. I want to emulate Jesus, right? And I'm not a Christian. It's crazy. I'm not. I don't consider myself that because Jesus never considered himself as a Christian. He was somebody who was bringing truth to the world and expressing it when everybody else had a religion, Judaism, right? And all these other religions existed. He was his own sovereign person who had a direct relationship with God. And all I want to do is basically emulate that, because he did say there will be people who come after me that perform even greater miracles than I did, right? You got to understand that. Man, I'm putting in some word for y'all. But anyway, back to the concept. A weak man will literally look up to a man who seems to be powerful and try to literally idolize them. And there are men who literally idolize rappers. They want to dress like the rapper, right? They want to talk like the rapper. They start to they lose their sense of self. See, weak men do not have a sense of self. They have no authenticity. All they do is they go follow other men. And when they follow other men, what happens is they become fake. So nobody can relate to them, and they wonder why people don't like them. They wonder why people think that they're fake, inauthentic, because that's true. That's the facts. You're inauthentic. You're not yourself. Because you want to follow somebody else because of the perceived power that they have. You want to follow this influencer and what they wear and how they talk and how they walk. Because you can't be a real man. You can't be a strong man and get your own act together for yourself. So you follow everybody else. I know you lacked a father, if you did. Some of you did not lack a father. You just have that gene to just follow literally every single person that is perceived at a higher level. See, strong men, they see everybody at the same level as them. Everybody. Everybody at the same level as them. Because they understand that everybody is human. Everybody goes to the bathroom and takes a dump. Everybody. See, weak men even pedestalize women, not even just men. They idolize women to the point where it's like they can't even talk to women. The same way with men. Like, I remember I heard Hamza say like, oh, a lot of my followers, man, when I go, or a lot of my subscribers, when I see them in person, they're like afraid to talk. Like they get really nervous and they get shaky. That's weakness. It's the same with women, men who get like shaky and they get all weak. You pedestalize everything. That is a weak man. You pedestalize everything. And you try to follow, you try to find somebody to follow because you cannot lead. See, strong men lead. Weak men follow the strong men. And I know you don't want to be weak, but unfortunately, in the society we live in today, because of the survival of the fittest, there has to be weak people in the pyramid of society. There has to be a bottom tier. I don't want you to be a bottom tier. I don't want myself to be a bottom tier. That's why I study what I study now. That's why I learn what I learn now. That's why I self-improve. All that, right? So those are three big signs. So we started out with 1, you judge people by their words and not their actions, right? You cast judgment on others based on perception, based on the hive-mindedness of the collective of humans, right? You listen to what other people say. You judge people by what other people say about them, basically. Number 2, let me see if I remember this. Number 2 is, I remember number 3, but number 2 is specifically you consistently, I'm going to get this right, I'm going to get this right, I'm going to get this. You might have to rewind the video because I'm trying to remember all these points. Number 3 is basically you pedestalize everybody. You try to follow people, right? Oh, number 2, you cannot hold conflicting thoughts in your head and say, and actually like think about it and challenge your own ideologies with other ideologies and come out on top. Or change if you need to, understanding that there can be a change based on what truths you've learned, right? So those are the top 3 signs. Those are the big 3 signs that you are a mentally weak man, which is the worst weakness you can have is mentally. Because I want you to understand everything starts in the mind. Your reality comes from your mind. What you see, who you are right now, what you're doing. If you're broke, it's because of your mind, right? If you're not strong, if you're literally physically weak, it's because of your mind. Your mind is where discipline exists. Your mind is what will allow for your body to move. It's what will allow for reality to be what it is, right? So those are the top 3 signs. If you have these things, you are not a strong man. You are a very weak man, and you need to work on these things and be aware of these things to be as strong as you possibly can. Like, comment, subscribe if you found some value in this. Share this with a friend that you believe is mentally weak, that needs something like this to be able to level them up and become stronger in themselves, become stronger men, etc., etc. Go ahead, click the link in the description if you're interested in building your personal brand. I believe everybody should have a personal brand. We're moving into the age of AI, into the age where it's saturation. Everybody's getting into everything. People are starting digital marketing agencies every single day. People are starting different careers online, right? They're getting into copywriting, they're getting into high tickets. All these things are being saturated. But if you have a personal brand, you rise above the saturation because you're unique, you're yourself, and people like to buy from other people, right? You can start your own product, you can start your own business very quickly. I teach you how to do all this. So click the link in the description if you're interested in that. I appreciate you, and I will find you on the next video. I'll see you on the next video.